From Concord, North Carolina, the Way She Goes Racing League is set to conquer Charlotte Motor Speedway. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the eSports Broadcasting Network. Last week, while the cameras were off, Derek Welch topped the field at Texas with a win in his debut with the Way She Goes Racing League. Now, with this fresh challenger on the circuit, Andrew Loszewski and the rest of these drivers are looking to take on the mile-and-a-half Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm Dave Regal, and I'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag on the eSports Broadcasting Network. And folks, glad to have you back with us. Of course, if you are catching up with us on, bear with me here, folks. Glad to have you back here with us in the ESBN Conshohocken studios here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. You know, last week was an exciting week over at Texas. Of course, you know, tonight I don't see last week's winner here on the track tonight, but qualifying underway. And right now, John Osborne and Joshua Backer sitting atop the pile. We'll take a look here as right now Joshua Backer on his opening lap has laid down a 30.44. He is out here getting ready to lay down number two in his Jeff Gordon Pepsi throwback scheme. It's Pepsi, it's DuPont, it's the number 24, it's Charlotte, so it must be throwback week. Oh, and he rubs the wall here on that second lap, so that will invalidate it. However, he does still sit third atop the pile. Michael Cunningham with a fourth place appearance right now in the number 44 Blockbuster Mobile. Joshua Backer, as I had mentioned, running in fourth. Billy Keffer in the number 22 machine. Natalie Cunningham in, it's a throwback. It's kind of a, I mean, it's definitely a Kyle Busch throwback scheme here, but at the same time, also close to Kenny Schrader. So throwback night here is Kevin Kitzman. If you're a fan of the movie Cars, of course, the fabulous Hudson Hornet. It's not Doc tonight, but right now it's the 93 of Kevin Kitzman as he is out here running his opening lap for his qualifying effort. Of course, things starting to heat up as far as championship points go. We'll take a look here at your top five. Sitting atop the pile, of course, is Andrew Loszewski with his number 11 car. Andrew out here right now, as a matter of fact, in that Kyle Petty throwback Hot Wheels paint scheme in the number 11. And I'll tell you what, every week he comes out here with another great paint scheme. So this is just one more to add to that pile. Then Robert Hissong, who I do not see, there he is. Robert Hissong out in the number 29 black GM Goodwrench paint scheme. Of course, so it's kind of a cross between Kevin Harvick, who, of course, the initial paint scheme that he had run on the 29 was the white paint scheme, but here it is black, back in black, as it should be. Then Tony Edwards in the number 118 Jeg Chevrolet is sitting in third place right now. Then Robert Devers, with no wins, sits in third place. So he has absolutely been killing it. And tonight in the number 9, he is not out on track at the moment, but should be no different. Then Robert Osborne sitting here in fifth position, and of course, fifth position on your season standings, but second tonight behind Andrew Loszewski. Of course, fastest driver in practice was Josh Backer, who had run a flat 30 seconds, and second fastest in practice was Andrew Loszewski with a 30.03. So just as we are getting settled in here, we are going to step aside and pay some bills here on the ESBN eSports Broadcasting Network. Oh, never mind. It looks like we are getting ready to go racing as everybody has qualified, and the field is getting ready to take the grid. And we'll take a look at the starting grid tonight. Here in the Way She Goes Racing League, we're going 200 laps here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Andrew Loszewski in the number 11 Hot Wheels machine is going to sit atop the pile on the inside of row 1. John Osborne in the number 81 Blue Oval Ford going to be in P2. Tony Edwards, as we get that camera back, Tony Edwards going to sit on the inside of row 2 with Michael Cunningham on his outside. Then Billy Keffer and William Britton going to make up row 3. Row 4 going to be Robert Hissong and Joshua Backer. Row 5, Kevin Kitzman in the number 93 with Herbert Pineda on the outside of row 5. Natalie Cunningham and Ian Donat make up row 6. And starting shotgun on the field, Robert Devers in the number 9 Chevrolet. So these drivers getting ready to roll off here, as we should be seeing them all get moving right here on our grid cam. Oddly enough, it looks like Kevin Kitzman, the only driver not to spin those tires on his way off, for reasons I'm not quite sure of. It seems like everybody else was kind of slip-sliding around. So as everybody gets themselves set, we are formed up. The iRacing.com pace car lights are off, which means that after they come through turn 4 here, we will go green flag racing. Just 13 cars in the field tonight, so definitely not crowded. They have 5 sets of tires to change with 1 on the car, so 6 total for 200 laps, and a fast repair in their pocket. Andrew Loszewski and John Osborne pacing the field. Everybody's getting ready. Everybody's settling in here. Just making sure everything is perfect just before they get ready to rock and roll here. Of course, Andrew Loszewski from Rockford, Illinois, on the pole. So right now, we're going to turn our head and we're going to look at the man in the stand with the green flag in his hand. They get through the Geico restart zone. That flag's in the air. It starts waving, and we are green flag racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Getting just a little hairy deeper in the field here, as it looks like Michael Cunningham and Kevin Kitzman going to be working each other over pretty hard now as Kitzman slides single file. But right now, just in front here, Robert Hissong working the outside of Billy Keffer. Of course, it looks like Keffer in the 22 holding off William Britton in what's supposed to be the 64, driving the number 9 tonight. Or at least on his paint scheme, it is the number 9. Of course, we are dealing with custom number paint schemes. So right now, William Britton holding on to that bottom line just ahead timing-wise of Robert Hissong. And we're about to have a pretty interesting matchup here as Kevin Kitzman is now being passed by Joshua Backer, who was fastest in practice, and Backer holding the low line, as it looks like Kitzman going to be getting a push from Natalie Cunningham. Glad to have all of you in with us tonight on the YouTube feed tonight. If you are watching us and you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to ESPN. Turn on those bell notifications so you can be notified every time we go live, as we have 6 nights of racing here on ESPN and Sim Racing Media. Glad to have everybody in with us. The usual suspects here with the Way She Goes Racing League looks like Lizette Montez. Hi, Liz. Glad to have you tonight. Of course, she is cheering on her boyfriend, Andrew Loszewski. Bluegill 37 cheering on the number 29 car of Robert Hissong. And William B. Hello, all. Thank you, Blue. So I'm assuming William Britton is who William B. is, just putting 2 and 2 together there. As you know, I know that he's probably a little upset that the number 9 is showing on the car, but not the end of the world. That's why you have the greatest broadcaster you could tonight to be able to figure that out. 9, 64, 64, 9, we got it. You should have been here when we had the Nissan that was a Ford that was a Nissan. That was even more confusing. But right now, John Osborne sliding down in front of William Britton, as it looks like they're holding that all together. Something going on here in the back of the field. We're going to take a look. And it looks like Hisson just comes up into the 22. As we are under caution here for that wreck that was involving Robert Hisson and Bill Keffer. Forgive the camera angles. I was just doing about 3 things at once here. We will run this back for you and take a look once again. And we'll see this here as the 29 is going to come down toward the 22. Gets in the middle. They're just about 3 wide and just kisses the left rear quarter panel of the 22. And with just 7 laps complete at this point, Andrew Loszewski sits atop the pile in the number 11. 8 laps complete now, as we are marching toward lap 200. And now that we are here in this first caution, we will step aside and pay some bills on ESBN.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Oh, they're wrecking! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway, as we are under the first caution of the night, brought out by a little kerfuffle that, it happens, especially early on in the race. Fortunately, there is a fast repair in just about everybody's pocket. Not sure if Billy Keffer or Robert Hisson or Natalie Cunningham took theirs. I wouldn't assume Natalie would have taken hers. It didn't look like she had much damage, but she must have, as she is down on pit road. But Billy Keffer coming off pit road now, as he was brushed by Robert Hisson there. So glad to have you all in with us tonight on YouTube.com. Of course, you can always tell us here in the YouTube live chat who you're cheering for. Of course, Lizette Montez, Bluegill 37, and William B. all giving us the heads up. Glad to have you in with us tonight I see several of you watching. Glad to have you in. As we are under our first caution right now, we should see the iRacing.com pace car lights turning off this time by, as Andrew Loszewski is going to be on the inside of row 1 for the restart with Tony Edwards on his outside. John Osborne restarting in P3 with Michael Cunningham in P4. Joshua Backer and Kevin Kitzman in 5th and 6th. Herbert Pineda and Robert Devers in 7th and 8th, and 9th and 10th, rounding out the top 10 is Ian Donat and William Britton. Of course, William Britton driving the number 9 Dodge tonight, being scored as the 64. Not the end of the world. So just remember that when we get right here, although it looks like a Dodge and it looks like it's supposed to be the number 64, it's a number 9, and it's really a Ford. However, I'll tell you what, as a Mopar guy myself, right now, that's my favorite paint scheme on the track. And we see the iRacing.com pace car bringing the field through turn 2. And not a big field tonight, as there were 13 that took the field. Natalie Cunningham sitting down on pit road now for the last about 4 minutes. Not sure what's going on there with her. But hopefully she can get that number 18 M&M's machine back going. So right now, as everybody checks the gloves, checks the belts, gets their hands right up there on top of the wheel for this restart. The iRacing.com pace car just riding that middle seam between the first and third lane there. He's got the pace car lights off. We should see him dive down pit road, and that means that just as they come past those hash marks for pit road, that the man in the stand with the green flag in his hand is going to be standing there, arm up, waiting to wave it. Andrew Loszewski and Tony Edwards side by side. Here we go. Green flag racing as we are back going on lap number 12 of 200. Everybody pretty quick to go single file here, at least through the top 5. We'll take a look back here in what's usually more of a salad bowl as guys get tossed around here. Herbert Pineda in the number 99 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet leading in front of Kevin Kitzman in the number 93 fabulous Hudson Hornet paint scheme here on the number 93 Toyota Camry. Man, that's probably going to be one of my favorites tonight, as, you know, of course, my kids love the movie Cars, and I mean, I realize that it doesn't have anything to do with the movie, but hey, to me, that's what it's all about tonight. For the number 93, moving back through here, looks like Ian Donat in the 77 in front of Robert Hissong, who has definitely been slowed down by that wreck there that he had gotten into with Billy Keffer. Billy Keffer obviously taking the fast repair, but Hissong very scarred up back here as Robert Devers trying to catch up with the pace. And unfortunately, it seems like Natalie Cunningham not taking that fast repair, and she is sitting down on pit road. But meanwhile, back on top here, Andrew Loszewski in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry, just totally setting sail over top of Tony Edwards. And I guess back here where Tony Edwards, Joshua Backer, and Michael Cunningham are, this is where the battle is going to be here, folks, tonight. As it looks like Michael Cunningham, not willing to give up easy tonight. As we saw him get an amazing podium finish a couple of weeks ago, and he is definitely driving for that tonight. Right now, Cunningham working the inside of Tony Edwards, and it looks like he is going to fall just back behind Tony Edwards as John Osborne getting another run, almost being pushed by the 64 of William Britton. Definitely those two drivers going to be working together here. The hard thing at Charlotte is that it's not a traditional track to be drafting with. So overall, you know, you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, you know, I can draft for a little while, but really you can only draft down the straightaways because that's the only time that you're wide open. Otherwise, you have to be so in tune with the car in front of you so you don't run him or her over as you go through there. And right now it looks like John Osborne got the run on Michael Cunningham, but it looks like Cunningham going to beat him out of 4 and maintain that 4th position as they go past the start-finish line for lap number 18 of 200. So that Blockbuster machine not going the way of Blockbuster. He's not going away anywhere. I do believe, and you know what? I'm going to check here while I'm thinking of it. I believe there is actually one Blockbuster in the world yet. And oddly enough, for some reason, I'm correct. The last Blockbuster, as it's colloquially known, is actually in Bend, Oregon. So, in case you were wondering if there was something to do on Friday night, maybe you wanted to rent a DVD or, gasp, a VHS. I don't even know if... you know what? Y'all who are in the live chat, do you know anybody? William B. is cheering on the 64 that's a 9. In the live chat, do you know anybody who still has a VHS player? I don't. You know, in my home, I don't even have a DVD player or anything to play DVDs on. I stream everything. So just kind of curious, do you know anybody with a VHS player and they use it? But, I mean, that used to be such a great thing. Like, I remember, you know, growing up, I'd go to my mom's on a Friday night, you know, and sometimes we would go over to Blockbuster or at that time also Hollywood Video. And, you know, you pick up a movie or two. And, you know, of course, the popular, the new ones were the 1-day and 2-day rentals. Maybe you got a big thing of popcorn or some, you know, Milk Duds or Sugar Babies and went home. And, you know, and of course, they always wanted to charge you if you didn't rewind the tape, which was a thing, you know. And of course, it started such a thing that back then they made and sold VCR rewinders. It was just when you got to the end of your movie, you stuck instead of pushing the rewind button on your VCR, you wound up putting it in a separate machine that would rewind the tape for you for reasons I'm not quite sure of, but I'm sure that they sold a ton of them. I know that I had a couple of friends with them, so whew, the Michael Cunningham's paint scheme here just sent me down memory lane as he is being challenged yet again by John Osborne in the number 81 Ford. Now, something to keep in mind here, Michael Cunningham has not changed that racing line. And, you know, yes, he's being challenged by Tony Edwards in the 118 Jeg Chevrolet. But something to keep in mind is that Michael Cunningham is also running that top line, which is not near as hard on your tires. Meanwhile, he's forcing John Osborne to be working that low line, chewing those tires up like a hungry hippo as they go down the backstretch and into turn 3. So, you know, I think, whoa, and Cunningham rubs the wall. That's going to affect his time just a little as he is going to have to get caught back up now to John Osborne, who's run away with P4 for the time being. But like I was just saying, you know, we're going to see Osborne's tires start to fall off before Michael Cunningham now as, you know, he's been working that bottom line for quite a while. But moving through the field, we see our race leader, Andrew Loszewski. We'll take a look right here from Rockford, Illinois, in the number 11 machine, as he is our race leader with about a second lead over Joshua Backer, new to the Way She Goes Racing League. Sorry about that, folks. Just trying to chase down a graphic there. Anyway, Josh Backer in the number 24 Pepsi Chevrolet, new to the Way She Goes Racing League, right now running in P2. Then, of course, we have William Britton in the number 64. That's a 9 tonight in his Ford. Then John Osborne in the number 81. Tony Edwards in the 118 Jeg Chevrolet. Billy Keffer in 6th. Herbert Pineda in 7th. Michael Cunningham in 8th. Kevin Kitzman in 9th. And Ian Donat in 10th. These drivers getting a workout tonight as Joshua Backer trying to chase down Andrew Loszewski, who has now opened himself up more than a 1 second lead as he is at 1.07 seconds. John Osborne and William Britton just about the only two drivers really going at it. And just as I say that, it appears that we have a three-way battle now for 5th, 6th, and 7th as the 22 of Billy Keffer is being chased down by Tony Edwards and Michael Cunningham. And Tony Edwards and Herbert Pineda, as Michael Cunningham has now fallen behind those three drivers. So 5th, 6th, and 7th being challenged now. All three of these drivers not going to be giving up anytime soon this evening. As, you know, you got to keep in mind, while Tony Edwards and Herbert Pineda are duking it out back there, you know, that's allowing Keffer to run away with that position. And, of course, our faithful followers here on the YouTube.com live chat checking in about VHSs and the like. Looks like Lizette Montez says that she does, and they all have the Disney movies on VHS. Oh, my. Listen, how many folks out there remember, you know, especially at Christmas or birthdays, when you got that one gift that was wrapped up, and it was, of course, the size of that special plastic VHS holder for the Disney tape. Oh, and you knew that it had to be something exciting because it was a special occasion when it was all wrapped up like that. It was a special film, you know, literally a film, as that's the way that they were. And speaking of the way that they were, the way she goes right now, Andrew Loszewski putting down Robert Hissong a lap. So that's going to make things interesting here atop the point standings as Loszewski is lapping his second position challenger on the season point standings. Anyway, of course, you know, those Disney movies in those special boxes, I remember, you know, getting so many of those different ones when I was a kid. The Great Mouse Detective, Robin Hood, you know, it was just a special feeling. Then looks like Bluegill 37 plays DVDs on the PlayStation. And it looks like I'm not the only person that remembers what a VCR rewinder is. Then, oh, wow. Lizette says that they have 2 storage bins full of the old Disney movies. And, you know, especially that opening, like, da-da-da-da. It was just great. It was, I mean, Disney really knew how to make movie nights special for kids, you know, like me or us. I mean, all of us. I'm assuming we're not all that different in age. But, you know, just something really, really nostalgic for me, I guess, at this point. Maybe that's how I know that I'm getting old. Maybe that's how I've decided that this is how I'm going to age before you, right here in front of your eyes. I'm going to just reminisce about Disney VHS tapes in fancy plastic boxes. Well, since we've covered memory lane there with Michael Cunningham, let's talk about the Hot Wheels mobile. Of course, right now, Andrew Loszewski has that Hot Wheels machine up here in P1. And Hot Wheels, of course, originally, and I mean, oh dear, bear with me. Of course, Hot Wheels originally came out in 1968. And they were the primary competitor of Matchbox right up until 1997 when Mattel actually bought Tyco. So Matchbox and Hot Wheels both the same now. But, you know, I think I probably had hundreds of Matchbox cars when I was a kid. And they were so good with detail and things like that. I mean, you know, to me, that was always the cool. I remember very distinctly having a Hot Wheels Jeep. And it was a Jeep CJ with no top on it. And I remember stepping on it when I was a kid, slicing my foot open. But, I mean, you know, Elliott Handler, the original creator of Hot Wheels, you know, was really into detail and making sure that these looked, you know, as real as possible because he was competing with Matchbox at that time. You know, and they were originally conceived to be more like, you know, hot rods, like special cars, you know, whereas Matchbox, of course, had more of the this is what it looks like on the street kind of deal. But, of course, the racing track sets. I mean, my little guy has the racing track set with the loop in the middle of it. I mean, I was not one of those kids that had the spinny wheels that made the car shoot down the track. Plus, they kind of came out a little bit behind me. But the Hot Wheels car, of course, made famous by Kyle Petty, of course, our broadcast colleague over at NBC Sports, covering NASCAR from the second half of the season on through championship weekend over there on NBC. But, I mean, they had all kinds of interesting designs. Of course, the Black Walls era from the 80s. There was all kinds of, the Sweet 16 was like the first production line of Hot Wheels for the year 1968. And they had the Beatnik Bandit, the custom Eldorado, the custom Camaro, Corvette, Fleetside. So, they had, at least in this way, they tried to cover the big three auto manufacturers at the time with, Camaros and Corvettes. Then, of course, the Mustang, the T-Bird, the Barracuda, getting the Chrysler, the Chrysler name out there. Matchbox to me, or I'm sorry, not Matchbox, but Hot Wheels to me was like, it was special because you knew that you were supposed to play with it, and there's a huge collector's market for them out there now, Hot Wheels and Matchbox both. I remember working at Toys R Us back in the day, and every Thursday was when the Hot Wheels and the McFarlane action figures came out, and we used to have people lined up at the door, a couple of them, some really dedicated collectors out there, waiting to get in there for the Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars. So obviously something important, and in pop culture, Hot Wheels just, it really does it for a lot of people. So glad to see Andrew Loszewski up here atop the pile doing the Hot Wheels car justice, as it even looks like he may have a little bit of Petty Blue mixed into that paint scheme, so that's kind of cool. Joshua Backer running P2 right now. John Osborne in P3. William Britton in fourth, with Billy Keffer, Herbert Pineda, and Tony Edwards still duking it out here for 5, 6, and 7th. Looks like Billy Keffer going to allow the 99 to get underneath him here, going through 3 and 4 as he rolls out of 4 and secures 5th position away from Tony Edwards and Billy Keffer. So right now, Herbert Pineda running in 5th position, Tony Edwards in 6th, Billy Keffer in 7th. So these drivers getting themselves all lined up here, as we should start seeing green flag pit stops as we're on lap 42. And, with a 75% fuel load as we have them, here in the Way She Goes Racing League, we should start to see these guys and gals coming down pit road. Of course, speaking of pit road, looks like Natalie Cunningham has come off of pit road here, as she's about 11 laps down, but still trying to make her way up through the field, as she definitely has a lot of ground to make up tonight. Right now running 13th and final position on the field, as she is being put down yet another lap by our race leader, Andrew Loszewski, who is also getting ready to put Kevin Kitzman down a lap, as Loszewski starting to really control this field and start to dominate some things. .45 laps complete of 200 here in the Way She Goes Racing League, round 15 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm Dave Regal here on ESBN, live on YouTube.com. Glad to have you in with us tonight, as we are logging the laps, picking them up and laying them down. Very simply, we've had one caution this evening, And it looks like Bluegill 37 kind of feels my pain about the stepping on the Jeep CJ. That's just as bad as stepping on Legos or jacks. You know what? I have never had the misfortune of stepping on a jack, but I feel like, yes, that would be horrific. And Michael Cunningham, the first to blink here on his 44th, now 45th lap, coming down pit road here under green. It looks like he's got some scratching there on the passenger side of the number 44 Blockbuster machine. So not sure if he had bought a little piece of wall earlier or not, as he comes down pit road, leaving Andrew Loszewski out there on the track yet. Logging those laps as he is at lap 48 now. So we had talked about it a little earlier. Oh, it looks like Kevin Kitzman may have bought a piece of outside wall from that right-hand side. Of course, as I had mentioned earlier, Kevin Kitzman driving the number 93 machine. And this is a little bit of a throwback to Herb Thomas or Marshall Teague, depending on who you support there. But primarily, I know that he was trying to throw this back to Herb Thomas. Of course, originally the number 92 Fabulous Hudson Hornet, or Nathan's Fabulous Hudson Hornet with the number 6 down there on the side. But the Hudson Motor Car Company was an early proponent of auto racing. Of course, they had the big V8 engines, and they were working on tuning those V8s, getting everything just right, as you know, so many other people, because of weight, were trying to race with a 6. Now, these guys came out with the 8-cylinder, and you know, the original Hudson team included Marshall Teague, Herb Thomas, Dick Rathman, Tim Flock, and his brother Fonty Flock. You know, some really great names in old-timey NASCAR, as Kevin Kitzman bringing the Fabulous Hudson Hornet down pit road. And, you know, these drivers had proved that the Hudson Hornet could out-handle and out-accelerate much of its supposedly more powerful V8 competition. And, you know, of course, what made this particular paint scheme famous was Herb Thomas. And the 52 model Hudson was purchased by Thomas from a dealer, and of course, you know, outfitted to be a race car. You know, something, especially here in the Southeast at Charlotte Motor Speedway, to remember is that, you know, stock cars really used to be stock cars. You know, stock cars were something that you went to your local car dealer and said, hey, listen, I'll paint your name on the side of this car if you let me have it for either a discount or for nothing at all. And sounds like someone just went off track. We're going to take a look here. As it looks like Natalie Cunningham just got loose coming out of the pits. So she cannot be happy with that. As I hear a car spinning in the middle of the backstretch, trying to look for it. There we go. Looks like she has been deemed as having crashed. We'll see one more time here if anything else happens. She stays below that blue line. Woof! That was definitely dangerous, but manages to keep it going, and we stay green here. As John Osborne has come down pit road, leaving Billy Keffer atop the pile. He came in on lap 9, so I'm guessing he came in for some fuel as his last pit lap time. Well, maybe he didn't come in for fuel. He might have gotten tires. So we'll have to see how long he is able to stay out, as that leaves just 2 cars on the lead lap, as Billy Keffer and William Britton each came in on lap 9 and lap 8, respectively. We're going to see if he can stick this exit off of 4, as it looks like Robert Hissong has also had himself an incident here. This is definitely the cold tire brigade. So everybody having the cold tire jitters here, as, yep, looks like Kevin Kitzman has gotten himself back running. Angelo Loszewski back out in front, as William Britton and Billy Keffer have now come down pit road, and they are now making their exit off of pit road. So the field now having cycled through from lap 50 through lap 55, it looks, as Ian Donat also coming down pit road completes the cycle.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field worked its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Oh, the rocket! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
And welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway, as we have now 62 laps in of 200. So everybody picking them up and laying them down, as we haven't had a caution for several laps. We've had some folks, guys and gals, getting a little sideways here as we just came back from green flag pit stops. Everybody coming in between lap 47 and 55. So, or 45 and 55, I'm sorry. And right now your race leader is Angelo Loszewski in the number 11 Hot Wheels machine. We were just talking about Hot Wheels and, the collectability of Hot Wheels. And then Joshua Backer in the number 24 Pepsi machine, followed by Tony Edwards in third, John Osborne in fourth. Herbert Pinedo rounds out your top 5 with Billy Keffer, William Britton, Robert Devers, and Michael Cunningham in the number 44 Blockbuster Chevrolet, with Kevin Kitzman rounding out your top 10. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that, these drivers not exactly having to push very hard tonight. I mean, there's just 13 cars that took the green flag early on here. So, with 13 cars originally taking the green flag, with now just 7 left, looks like Angelo Loszewski has really, made sure to put everybody, for lack of a better term, in their place. So the next paint scheme we're going to focus on tonight, as it is Throwback night, is Herbert Pineda's number 99 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. Of course, the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet really coming to prominence when Michael Waltrip won his first Daytona 500 in 2001. Of course, February 18th, 2001 is remembered for a lot more than Michael Waltrip winning the Daytona 500. However, the National Automotive Parts Association, also known as Napa Auto Parts, was founded in 1925. And, one of the interesting things that I used to like about them is, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, their delivery trucks that used to run the parts, to and from different garages or repair centers, they all had cool little Napa hats right on top. Of course, there was an ad at one point that had Napa wondering if they should put the hat on top of Michael Waltrip's machine, but of course it never happened. Of course, he had made it famous on the number 15 Dale Earnhardt Incorporated Chevrolet. But, Napa is absolutely still out there and doing its thing. They currently sponsor Chase Elliott, of course, with Hendrick Motorsports. And they sponsor the number 56 Toyota that was originally driven by Martin Truex and then, for Michael Waltrip Racing. But they have generally stuck with the Chevrolets with the exception of that little trip there with Martin Truex Jr. Folks, if you are checking in on YouTube.com, glad to have you in with us as Lizette Montez is still out here cheering on her boyfriend, Andrew Loszewski, in the number 11. But anyway, just glad to have you in with us tonight, as it seems like, we're really getting the same folks week after week after week. And, tell your friends, tell your family. We like to have a good time here. Unfortunately tonight, the race has gotten a little quiet. So that's why we're really focused on paint schemes tonight. And, of course, it's also Throwback Week, and that's probably the biggest thing. I always love seeing those old paint schemes come back, especially the ones that you grew up with when you were a kid. I mean, to me, there's nothing more exciting, and unfortunately, he's had a rough go of it. Robert Hissong in the number 29 GM Goodwrench Mobile, of course, not out on the track, but, just as exciting was Michael Waltrip, especially in that 2001 season, then when he had done it again in what I believe was 2003, and I'm going to check that because I think Ward Burton won the 500 in 2004. And unfortunately, I was correct. I don't know why I retained that kind of information, but Michael Waltrip wins it in 2001, Ward Burton in 2002, then Michael again in 2003, and then, of course, Dale Jr. in 2004. So for reasons I can't quite understand, I can't remember many things, but for some reason I can remember obscure things like that. So always a nice, fun tip of the cap when you have a weird memory. Of course, as I had mentioned, if you do turn on those bell notifications for ESBN over on YouTube.com, we have 6 nights of racing on Sim Racing Media and ESPN. Monday nights are for cleanracing.net at 8:30 p.m. Then Tuesday afternoons at noon is the Night Shift Racing League. And let me tell you, kind of an interesting thing the Night Shift Racing League is. So the Night Shift Racing League is made up of a bunch of folks that work second and third shift that, here we are at 9:52 Eastern time. So, a lot of folks that might be working right now or just about to punch in right now or just getting ready to come off the clock, they can't be in races like this. And here we are, with this Night Shift Racing League that they've formed. They get together every Tuesday at noon to do exactly what you're seeing here. But at the same time, they're able to do it on their schedule. So just a really cool, my opinion, strictly my opinion, a really cool kind of thing that they're able to put together here. Then the All-American Racing League at 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, followed by your nightcap, the Western States Racing League, which is actually this week going into their championship week at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So 10:15 p.m. on Tuesday, check out championship week on the Western States Racing League. Then the Thunderclap Stock Car Series is at 8:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, with followed by us, of course, here on the Way She Goes Racing League every other week on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Then the Ghost Energy Cup Series at 9:10 p.m. on a Wednesday. So they're actually on right now over on Sim Racing Media on Facebook or here on YouTube.com. Then every Thursday, we do have a live stream that's usually put up by Mr. James Riles. Then USRA at 7 p.m. on a Thursday. Friday nights are actually the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series at 8:30 p.m., followed by the Kool-Aid Monster Next Gen Cup Series at 9:30 p.m. on Sim Racing Media on Facebook or, of course, here on ESBN on YouTube. Then Sunday, we've got a quadruple header. Sunday is just about the busiest day of the week for everybody at Sim Racing Media because there are some people like myself who are out there, actually racing on a Sunday night, or in the case of many of my colleagues, working a race sometime between Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. So the IFL Series is at 3:30 p.m. on a Sunday, followed by ISNF, which is Sunday Night Fever, at 5:30 p.m. on a Sunday. Then Fuel, the Fired Up eSports League, is at 7:30 p.m. And then your nightcap in prime time is the Davis Brothers Roofing Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series at 8:30 p.m., both on Sim Racing Media on Facebook and ESPN here on YouTube.com. So always something to watch. And also keep your eyes out on Spotify as we are working on the next episode of the Sim Racing Media Money Stop podcast with Tony and Dave, of course, featuring myself and my good friend Tony Trapasso here at Sim Racing Media and ESPN. Always a joy to hang out with my boy Tony. And speaking of joy, one thing growing up has always, when I was growing up, was always about the M&Ms. There were peanut M&Ms and regular M&Ms, M&M minis. And right now we're taking a look here at, it's kind of a Kyle Busch throwback here in the number 18 M&M's machine. And if that font was just a little bit different and maybe the 38 instead of the 18, that would be a Kenny Schrader style paint scheme. M&M's, of course, have been popular since much earlier in the 20th century. The candy originated in the U.S. in 1941 and has been sold in over 100 countries since 2003. And, they've changed. The colors have changed over the years, but the candy-coated chocolate is absolutely the exact same thing. And something interesting, the makers over at M&M Mars originally, because they had kind of spawned out of candy making in the early 20th century, had no place to really buy their milk chocolate from. Who was the largest producer of milk chocolate in the United States in the early part of the 20th century? Well, it was Hershey right here in Pennsylvania, over there in Derry Township out in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. And, basically, the Mars family, Forrest Mars and his father, had to go out and, talk to the Hershey company. Of course, they had gotten, and I just forgot the gentleman's name. can't find his name. Anyway, Boris Marsden's father, Frank, had to reach out to Hershey and be able to buy chocolate from them, milk chocolate, so that they could make the M&Ms. Of course, they were not just making M&Ms at that time. They were coming out with Snickers, which I believe Natalie has on her deck lid. Here we go. Let's see if we can zoom in here on Natalie's deck lid. Natalie does have Snickers on the old deck lid there. The camera has just decided to go completely wonky. You know what? Tonight's cameras do not want to work with me. Not sure why. Let's try this one more time here. There it is. Anyway, the Snickers logo, of course, right here on that rear deck lid. All those delicious candies. Of course, your yellow peanut M&Ms, your red, orange crunchy, the blue, the green. As Natalie takes off from pit road. But anyway, here was the thing. They wanted to be able to give soldiers chocolate, and but the unfortunate thing is that, the chocolate would melt. So they figured out how to cover the chocolate with a candy coating, which is actually what makes that shell on the outside of an M&M, and that way it would melt in your mouth, not in your hand, or in the case of many soldiers, in their pockets. As Natalie Cunningham, coming off of pit road, transitions up onto the racing surface, gets herself up to speed, and she will get herself rocking and rolling. So anyway, M&Ms have played a pivotal role, especially in, getting our soldiers. Of course, we just had Memorial Day on Monday, but getting our soldiers something sweet to eat. And, of course, they come in many different varieties. There's the regular chocolate, nut, spice, and herb, fruit, dessert. My favorite M&M flavor is the peanut butter. Not the peanut, but the peanut butter. There's just something about the layer of candy over top of what just happened to William Britton. Going to take a look quick. William Britton, keeps himself moving. And then finds the inside wall. Anyway, the candy coating, then the chocolate layer, and then the peanut butter right there in the middle, and it's just good peanut butter. I mean, I realize that peanut butter is peanut butter, but there's something special, when it's either in a Reese's peanut butter cup or an M&M that just makes it different. Natalie Cunningham getting those tires up to temperature coming through the tri-oval. That car definitely a little loose there as she gets herself back up to speed. Anyway, but I mean, let us know in the live chat what your favorite M&M is, or if you like M&Ms at all. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you really should, though. M&Ms are something that I feel like everybody can stand behind. You can have different opinions about things. You can like different baseball teams or football teams or political affiliations, religions. But I feel like the world can kind of come together around M&Ms. I feel like nobody hates M&Ms. How do you hate an M&M? Anyway, but, so Natalie Cunningham out here running that M&M paint scheme.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Oh, the rocket! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
"98 laps of 200 completed here at Charlotte Motor Speedway." I'm Dave Riegel here on ESBN, bringing you the Way She Goes Racing League. Round 15 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Andrew Loszewski, your race leader here ahead of John Osborne. And get this, Andrew Loszewski with a 15.41 second lead over Osborne. That's half a lap, in geographical terms. John Osborne with himself a near 13-second lead over Herbert Pineda. And Pineda now leading Tony Edwards, who is down getting service on pit road as the next round of green flag pit stops are underway here at the Way She Goes Racing League. Folks, if you're just tuning in on YouTube.com, glad to have you with us as we are bringing you all of the action from green flag to checkered flag. Lizette Montez in the live chat letting us know that she loves the peanut M&Ms. I got to say, they're definitely a close second for me. As I had mentioned, I am a fan of the peanut butter M&Ms, but Lizette in here with peanut M&Ms. How about Bluegill 37? Or you know what, William B., don't try to text or don't try to message there in the live chat what your favorite M&M is. In fact, if you just want to give me a holler there in race radio what your favorite M&M is, that'd be great. But anyway, Andrew Loszewski, your race leader, coming down pit road here, giving up that lead as John Osborne going to lead a lap right now as he is out here one more time. 13 cars took the field tonight, and you know what? To be completely honest, it's been an interesting evening overall. Not a whole lot of excitement, not a whole lot of negative excitement. There's been some great racing going, but not a whole lot of wrecks or things that have brought out cautions, which is how we've managed to get to lap 101 now. And, one thing that I do want to talk about, we talked about Michael Cunningham and his blockbuster videomobile. Of course, we were talking about VHSs. Next throwback paint scheme is the number 77 driven by Ian Donat. And, of course, he is running the Kodak film paint scheme as he is getting ready to come down pit road. So here's the thing with Kodak. The Eastman Kodak Company, which is normally referred to as Kodak, originally came about more than 100 years ago. Of course, came about in 1888, which followed the razor blades business. Basically George Eastman, involved with the razor blade business model of selling inexpensive cameras for making large margins for consumables. So they made sure that film was suddenly more affordable for the average consumer. Film, chemicals, and paper weren't cheap back in the day, especially when, people like Matthew Brady during, the American Civil War were having to, wait for that to develop and so on and so forth. It was just a complete nightmare. So, of course, the first Kodak camera came out in 1888. And, everybody's gone to the wedding where they've got, a bunch of quote-unquote Kodak disposable cameras. Of course, they were going up against Fujifilm, as far as, into the mid to late 2000s. And, in 2001, the film sales had dropped because, of course, the age of the digital camera had come about. I mean, once that digital camera came around in the early 2000s, Kodak knew that their days were going to be numbered in one way, shape, or form. And even still, I mean, here we are in 2022, and basically now we're into throwback mode just for the medium of actual film cameras. I mean, back as late as 2018, Kodak had announced that the 135 and Super 8 format would be available again, with an 18 millimeter available after that. And, here's the thing. People kind of like that. I mean, the Polaroid's coming back, the Kodak is coming back because, number one, there's something about when you squeeze the flash button on a Kodak disposable camera and it made that little sound like something really exciting or something really powerful was about to come out of that camera. I mean, that was exciting. Then you took the picture, the flash went off, and then you had to turn that crank and, click, 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 click until you got to the next exposure in the camera. And I mean, Kodak probably played a huge role in many of our lives, as so many photo albums and things for those of us of a certain age. I guess maybe I'm getting to that point where, my niece, who's she'll be 21 in October, yes, we have regular pictures of her, but far more pictures digitally than we ever did on, regular film, paper, and chemical. But, as we look here at lap 107, Ian Donat out here representing the Kodak family of film very well. And, even though that this car of his right now is looking a little bit like a modified, we can take a look here at the front end. Of course, we can see the grill. We can see, not the grill, but we can see the radiator and everything. A little bit of dirt here on the radiator, I see. But, pretty much be able to see a lot in there without the nose clip of this car being on. But Ian Donat right now running in 11th position, down several laps, but still not giving up, as no driver in the Way She Goes Racing League ever truly does. Everybody gets frustrated from time to time, but, the Way She Goes Racing League, people are willing to stick it out. These guys and gals are out here, week in and week out, practicing on these setups, making sure that it's just right, because this is a fixed setup league, so it comes down to a lot of driver skill. And, of course, I've been holding off a lot on this all night because I could get carried away with Pepsi products. But our next paint scheme here on Throwback Night in the Way She Goes Racing League belongs to Joshua Backer, driving the number 24 Pepsi machine. Of course, if it's Charlotte, if it's the 24 car, if it's Pepsi, you know that we're talking about Jeff Gordon. Of course, for a lot of the special races, of course, he was driving the DuPont Paint Rainbow Warrior machine for a lot of his career, that Chevrolet Monte Carlo that he had just made synonymous with himself and Hendrick Motorsports. But for special occasions, a lot of times we saw him in the Pepsi Chevrolets. So, we do want to talk about Pepsi. Of course, it originally was developed in 1893 by Caleb Bradham. It was introduced as Brad's drink originally. And then it was renamed Pepsi-Cola in 1898. And then, of course, just shortened to what we now know as Pepsi in 1961. Here's the thing. There was another soda company, we'll say another soft drink company. Of course, they didn't realize that they were a soft drink company, being run by a man named Asa Candler out of Atlanta, Georgia. And Pepsi is the kind of drink to me. So I personally am not a Pepsi guy. I mean, if I go to a restaurant and somebody says, and I order that other brand, and they say, is Pepsi okay? Yeah, Pepsi's okay, but it's not what I like. That Pepsi challenge that was back in the 90s, I could have beaten that challenge every time, I swear. But Pepsi is a sweeter kind of cola. Of course, it's kind of reminiscent of the RC cola, which is also very sweet. It doesn't have a whole lot of bitter kickback from the cola nut, which, of course, is where we get that bitterness from. So a lot more sugar in it, in my opinion. But, basically, the original recipe included sugar and vanilla, and then, Bradham had sought to create a fountain drink that was appealing. And of course, back then, you got you got the syrup and then soda water, and they had to mix the soda water with the syrup to make the drink. And, sometimes your soda jerk would be a little heavy-handed, so they had to figure out how to streamline that process, how to uniformly do. Whoa! As it looks like Backer bit the wall coming out of 2 onto the backstretch. He recovers and gets back underway as he is trailing Andrew Loszewski by 8.95 seconds. Anyway, during the Great Depression, Pepsi had gained popularity because they came out with a 12-ounce bottle, and Pepsi and Coke both were originally in a 6.5-ounce bottle. But Pepsi was able to come out with the 12-ounce bottle for a nickel, and they had originally used an advertising campaign, using a popular jingle called Nickel Nickel, which was first recorded by the Toon Twisters. But, don't get me wrong. Pepsi, delicious. Of course, proudly sponsoring Jeff Gordon for so many years. And, I mean, they have been in an absolute all-out war with Coca-Cola since their inception. I mean, Coca-Cola, of course, coming in the 1880s, so this is a little bit later. Of course, coming originally, Coca-Cola at one time had the chance to buy Pepsi and chose not to. And maybe for many reasons, it's a good thing that they chose not to buy them, because if you think about it, the competition is good. We have Pepsi drinkers, we have Coke drinkers, and it's nice to have that competition. And realistically, it's nice to have a choice. Mountain Dew made by Pepsi. It's something refreshing. For me, that is the one Pepsi product that I absolutely I love. But, the other thing is, of course, Pepsi has been part of so many other conglomerates over the years. Of course, right now, Frito-Lay, Pepsi, KFC. I forget what the name is, though. There is a name for the company that actually owns the whole schmear. But of course, the parent company is PepsiCo. I can't think of the name of the company that, KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Pepsi, Frito-Lay. It's all one big conglomerate. But anyway, regardless, Pepsi, definitely a long-time thing, and of course popular in the Southeast. So, it's interesting that Pepsi would originally, be invented in New Bern, North Carolina. Of course, not far from where we are here. When you consider where Charlotte is, of course, New Bern there on the eastern side of the state. So definitely born and bred in the Carolinas, with Georgia just a short distance away, where, Asa Candler had taken John Pemberton's Coca-Cola formula and uniformed that and was able to bottle it. So the Southeast, definitely a hotbed of soft drink creations. And speaking of hotbeds, looks like Andrew Loszewski trying to put more distance between himself and Joseph Backer as Backer works his way around Michael Cunningham. John Osborne in the number 81, he's in a good place right now. I mean, he's got about 10 seconds between himself and Joshua Backer. He's got about 3 seconds between himself, and you see Tony Edwards there in the number 118 Jeg Chevrolet making his way into turn 3. You know, right now, John Osborne, if this was a public race, he would be in absolute heaven. I mean, in a public race, you know, drivers oftentimes they get dragged into stuff, but you know, with that kind of distance on either side of you, John Osborne sitting pretty. Tony Edwards is just about 13 and a half seconds ahead of Herbert Pineda. And, you know, it's just the whole field has really gotten strung out. So, you know, at this point, just 4 cars left on the lead lap. Kind of getting excited to see who Andrew Loszewski decides to put a lap down next, if he's able to get around to Tony Edwards. .126 of 200 laps complete here, with 3 cars left on the lead lap now, as Herbert Pineda has now been the next car to succumb to Andrew Loszewski. And right now, Andrew Loszewski has John Osborne in his sights. And I'm not saying it's a whole lot here. You know, I don't want to say that, but here we can see John Osborne in the number 81. And we'll wait till that camera rotates itself around here. We'll stop right there, and we'll just wait about the 22 seconds for Andrew Loszewski, who, you know, right now does not want to see. There he is, Andrew Loszewski chasing down John Osborne. You know, you don't want to be in third position looking in your rearview mirror and seeing the leader. Right now, John Osborne praying, you know, for a caution right now so he can get back where he belongs next to Andrew Loszewski. Behind Andrew Loszewski on the grid instead of in front of him with Loszewski in his rearview mirror. Joshua Backer, just 12 seconds separate himself and Loszewski. So these two drivers, not really, you know, Loszewski, I don't think he's got enough time to try to get all the way around for Backer, as there should be yet one or two more. Should be about 2 more pit stops before we get to the end here.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Well, oh, they're wrecking! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
.133 of 200 laps complete here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Way She Goes Racing League round 15 here at Charlotte. And, you know, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the number 9 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet right now. Of course, this is kind of an interesting conglomerate that Robert Devers has put on the side of this machine tonight, as this is partially like the Kellogg's paint scheme from Terry Labonte that had been run, you know, there the end of the 90s through the mid-2000s. And, of course, you know, talking about Rick Hendrick and HendrickCars.com, of course, Mr. H was born in July of 1949, and he is best known, of course, as the owner of Hendrick Motorsports and as a co-owner of Junior Motorsports and founder of the Hendrick Automotive Group, which actually is a network of over 100 car dealerships, which is where we get that .com, so you can be, you know, wherever you can find a car or wherever you need one, he can get you one. Rick Hendrick can. Of course, he was born in Warrenton, North Carolina, and raised on a family farm. And then he is the father of the late Ricky Hendrick, or, you know, Little Rick, who actually had died in a plane crash in 2004. And, you know, here's the thing. Rick Hendrick has one heck of a race team. Always has. HendrickCars.com is just one small portion of what Rick Hendrick does. I mean, you know, car dealerships and things like that. Of course, he had started in the car dealership business. He had begun drag racing when he was about 14, but he had originally opened a small used car lot with a partner of his, Mike Leith. And at age 23 in 1976, he had sold his assets to purchase a franchise in Bennettsville, South Carolina, and became the youngest Chevrolet dealer in the United States at that time. So, you know, Rick has done nothing but claw his way up through here. And Mr. H is definitely one of the most respected owners in NASCAR. I mean, I would like to think that rule number 9, in honor of the number 9 car tonight, rule number 9 is that when Mr. Hendrick speaks, people listen. And, you know, that's absolutely true. Of course, at the same time, we are talking about you know, the paint scheme itself. And, you know, this harkens to that Cornflakes car that, of course, Cornflakes made famous by the Kellogg cereal company out there in Battle Creek, Michigan. So this is kind of a two-for deal, if you will. But, you know, Kellogg's making, you know, their debut out in Battle Creek, Michigan. You know, interesting thing here. This was originally a cereal that was developed by Will Kellogg, of course, brother of the great Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. And, you know, there was a whole thing where John Harvey Kellogg said, you wouldn't have sold as much cereal as you did and been as popular as you are without my last name. And Will said, well, listen, it's my last name, too. I can do whatever I want. And it turned into a whole legal battle. I mean, not exactly as much of a legal battle as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but, you know, for its time, it was quite a heated battle overall legally. And finally, we don't talk about John Osborne, who is now leading this race by 15 seconds ahead of Andrew Loszewski. We don't talk about John Osborne's paint scheme enough, but he is driving the number 81 Chubby's Ford. And this Mustang here, you know, you can go over there to chubbyshorts.com. Of course, you know, definitely some comfortable looking leg wear. I guess you would call shorts leg wear, but shorts are meant to be short. And, they look comfortable. Go on over there. Definitely not for the faint of heart, but they do have some 5.5 ultimate training shorts, 5.5-inch ultimate training shorts. So, for lack of a better term, they are short shorts for men, and they look incredibly comfortable. You might see me wearing some by the pool this weekend. You never know. But low tide, high style, as, they've got a ton of swim shorts and lounge pants and tops, So go ahead over there to chubbyshorts.com and give their catalog a good look. And it looks like Lizette Montez lives off of Mountain Dew, as we were talking about Joshua Backer and his Pepsi Chevrolet up here, currently running in 4th position. Liz, I went through a stage where I think I drank more Mountain Dew than really you should legally be allowed to. At one time, I was a service technician out on the road, so there was always Mountain Dew in my cup holder, whether, and it was whichever size was on sale. If it was the liter bottles, oh my, I was getting 2 1-liter bottles because that was what fit in my cup holder. The stuff, you could have put it in with an IV for me. And oddly enough, when my son was born back in 2018, we wound up at the hospital unexpectedly that day, and I wound up having to go down to the cafeteria for something to drink and eat. And what I found was there was no Mountain Dew, but there was Mountain Dew Ice. And that quickly became one of my favorite varieties of Mountain Dew. Of course, my absolute all-time favorite is always Mountain Dew Live Wire. And definitely not always available. However, when it is, it's delicious. John Osborne leading the pack now. Whoa! As the 77 goes ripping through, he is trying to get himself back under control. And does, as it looks like he was simply trying to get out of the way of the leaders, which I can't blame him for doing so. And, to be completely honest, I'm sure that Osborne was very happy that he had done so. John Osborne, Angelo Loszewski, Robert Pineda, and Joshua Backer, your lead lap cars, just 4, as Tony Edwards is now down a lap, having been passed by John Osborne a short time ago, as Osborne has now decided to set sail and lead this piece. And if you are just tuning in, this is ESBN. I'm Dave Riegel here at the microphone. I've been with you since the drop of the green flag, and we're here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, about a 1.5 mile speedway in Concord, North Carolina, originally opened in 1960. Of course, has been hosting races since 1960. Now this is where the Coke 600 was just run on Sunday, but at one time it was called the World 600, and the first World 600 was run in June of 1960, June 19th to be specific. And here's the thing: a racetrack this size, especially where it's located, here in the heart of what's basically NASCAR country, is just an exciting place to have special races, 600 milers. I mean, you can go to Daytona, where it's the world center of racing and everything that we, all of the hallowed ground of Daytona, which, don't get me wrong, Daytona is absolutely a special place in this world. But, Charlotte is so close to so many different race teams that are based in the Carolinas. I mean, we had just talked about Hendrick Motorsports earlier, and of course, Junior Motorsports over in Mooresville, North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina is just, I want to say, kind of ground zero. The track record here in the Cup Series is held by Kurt Busch. Back in 2014, he laid down a 27.167. Now, tonight's best lap so far, as John Osborne has come down pit road, Angelo Loszewski cycles into the lead. So now here on lap 152 now, Angelo Loszewski regains the lead with he and Joshua Backer. Now the only cars on the lead lap as Tony Edwards and John Osborne have both come in for pit service. I mean, I have to figure, you know, these drivers are going to be able to get most of their race through. Uh-oh. As Michael Cunningham comes off of pit road, gets himself spun and flipping down the back stretch here. And we see Natalie Cunningham pulling over and putting a stop to her car for the evening. Kevin Kitzman doing just about the same thing in just about the same place. And now Michael Cunningham also having crashed. So all of these drivers, of course, having to get themselves reset here. That'll bring Angelo Loszewski down pit road. Joshua Backer and Tony Edwards, just having come in, are also coming down. Here on lap 155 of 200, so about 46 laps to go here in this piece at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Oh, they're wrecking! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
"156 of 200 laps complete here in the Way She Goes Racing League tonight here on ESPN, live on YouTube.com. Glad to have you in with us tonight. As right now we are looking toward this last stage of the race. Of course, not an official stage, but just the last segment of the race, if you will. Andrew Loszewski, your points leader and your race leader, sits atop the pile here tonight in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry, followed by Joshua Backer in the number 24 Pepsi Chevrolet. And Tony Edwards in the 118 Jeg Chevrolet, running in third right now. They are the only three drivers out on the lead lap right now, as Herbert Pineda is 2 laps down. Billy Keffer, Robert Devers, John Osborne, Kevin Kitzman, and Ian Donat, the only 9 cars left out on the track, as looks like Michael and Natalie Cunningham, along with William Britton and Robert Hissong, have put it on the hauler tonight. But, I know that Natalie and Kevin really worked their tails off to be able to put these races together, to get them out to you. Of course, we are not broadcast every week, but it's every other week. So, of course, sometimes scheduling like that, it kind of makes it a little tough. But the next time that we will be with you here on ESPN will be at iRacing Super Speedway. We're on 88 laps there on the 15th of June. So not next Wednesday, but the following. Next Wednesday, however, the Way She Goes Racing League will be at Auto Club Speedway for 100 laps on June 8th. So next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. But as the iRacing.com pace car drops down pit road, Andrew Loszewski, sitting on the inside, jumps out in front of Joshua Backer, and we are back green flag racing as Tony Edwards now making the move on the inside of Joshua Backer. This is only the second caution, third caution maybe, that we've had all evening long, as now Tony Edwards gets around Joshua Backer and puts Andrew Loszewski directly in his sights. And I got to tell you, watching Tony all season long, I would not want to see him in my rearview mirror, because he is coming, and he is going to be coming hard. As the 24 drifts up through the tri-oval, we're watching him just alongside, working the low side of Tony Edwards, as there is a three-way battle for the lead, and everybody else just playing catch-up tonight. As I had started to mention earlier, here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Kurt Busch holds the Cup Series qualifying record of 27.167. Tonight's fastest time so far was the 30-second even time that originally Josh Backer had laid down in practice over top of Angelo Loszewski. And Loszewski was at 30.03 at that point, so just 0.03 of a second between himself and Backer during practice. Of course, in Xfinity Series, Jimmy Johnson holds the track record at 28.763. The Truck Series, Kyle Busch holds the record at 29.384. And then the Indy Racing League, Tony Stewart actually holds the track record at 24.320. So Tony Stewart definitely figuring out how to boogie around this piece in the Indy cars. And it looks like Tony Edwards has had himself some problems back here as he has gone off track and back on track a few times. We'll take a look back as he came off of 4 through the infield and done a little landscaping here across the infield, manages to get it back under control and down through turn 1 relatively simply. John Osborne now on pit road. Sounds like he is ready to hang it up for the evening, as he has now been down there for about 33 seconds. So Angelo Loszewski, Joshua Backer, and Tony Edwards atop the pile. Robert Hissong finishing 13th tonight, as he only got 52 laps in. And, of course, Hissong running second position right now in season standings behind Loszewski, who leads the pack here. And Angelo Loszewski definitely letting us know, whoa! Angelo Loszewski definitely letting us know why he is sitting atop those point standings. $168 laps of 200 complete now. 169 as Loszewski passes the start-finish line. We've gone through a whole bunch of these paint schemes now, as Herbert Pineda running in 4th position. Billy Keffer in the 22 in that Whiskey River Chevrolet. In 5th position right now, a few laps down. Robert Devers in 9th. John Osborne off track. Kevin Kitzman keeping it together, keeping that car moving. Is the last car in line. I'm sorry, Ian Donat is the last car in line before we get to the DNF pile here, as technically John Osborne is the first DNF in the field tonight, but that will make it John Osborne, Michael Cunningham, Natalie Cunningham, William Britton, and Robert Hissong getting the did not finish awards this evening. Unfortunately, these drivers that have had to pull out, we do have a fast repair in this league, but once you burn that fast repair, sometimes it gets kind of hairy, especially if you get involved in something later on in the race, and you never want to, burn the fast repair early, but at the same time, if you need it, you need it. And then you try to take care of the car the rest of the evening. And speaking of taking care of the car, the 22 of Billy Keffer working the inside of Tony Edwards. Of course, Keffer down a few laps under Tony Edwards here. Fights his way past, and Edwards says, you know what, buddy, you just go right ahead. $174 of 200 laps complete now in the Way She Goes Racing League. Round 15 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Angelo Loszewski, your race leader in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry. And as he crosses the start-finish line, we are now on lap 175 here at Charlotte. So just over 25 laps to go, as we'll have 25 to go once he comes around and crosses the start-finish line the next time. Joshua Backer in the number 24 DuPont Pepsi Chevrolet. You know, DuPont, of course, a local company here to me, as I am just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. DuPont being based down there in Delaware. Of course, a huge sponsor for the Dover Motor Speedway and things like that. Of course, just before DuPont, it would have been called the E.I. DuPont Demour and Company, or Dow Chemical. They were originally founded as Dow DuPont in Wilmington, Delaware. And, of course, they serve the globe with everything that they do. Of course, the E.I. DuPont de Nemours and Company was commonly referred to as DuPont, and is an American company founded in July of 1802 in Wilmington as a gunpowder mill by French-American chemist and industrialist Euthere Louis DuPont and Nemours. And, here's the thing. Of course, I am not your French correspondent, but that's as good as I can get you. Down there in Delaware, I mean, DuPont is probably one of the biggest employers in Delaware, if not the biggest. And just as I'm looking here through a lot of what they had invested in, of course, was General Motors. And in the early part of the 20th century, when General Motors was just, coming into their own, they needed a little extra money. And Pierre DuPont had invested in the fledgling automotive industry at that time, and he was invited to be on GM's board of directors and would eventually be appointed the company's chairman. So DuPont and, it makes that relationship between DuPont and Chevrolet that much more special.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Oh, the rocket! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
15 laps to go here in the Way She Goes Racing League, round 15 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Andrew Loszewski has been dominant all night long here atop the pile in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry, as he has Ian Donat yet again in his sights as he puts Ian down yet another lap. Ian, of course, the last car on the track now, laying times down as John Osborne, Michael Cunningham, Natalie Cunningham, William Britton, and Robert Hissong have all opted to put it on the hauler tonight. Andrew Loszewski, though, up here laying 30.06 was his best time, but right now he has just recently laid down 31.45. So as he's gotten deeper into this race, you know, things have gotten a little hairier for him. Unfortunately, you know, it's terrible when you look at these kind of things where Natalie Cunningham has been collected in every single first wreck since week 10, and you know, and that's absolutely, forgive me. Anyway, you know, where I was collected in a wreck on lap 3. You know, so I went from getting ready to run 200 laps to running 100 laps and getting out of the way. But Andrew Loszewski tonight, however, not willing to go to bed early tonight. Here in the final 10 laps, Andrew Loszewski getting ready to try to bring it the rest of the way home as he's got a 3.44 second lead over Joshua Backer, and Joshua Backer sits 16 and a half seconds over Tony Edwards. So I don't believe Tony Edwards in the 118 Jeg Chevrolet going to be any sort of a problem. So your podium is looking like Loszewski, Backer, and Edwards, unless something crazy happens with Loszewski here with 9 laps to go. Herbert Pineda in the number 99 Napa Chevrolet running in 4th. Billy Keffer in the number 22 Whiskey River machine. Robert Devers on that same lap there in the number 9 HendrickCars.com paint scheme. And Kevin Kitzman, as we had talked about earlier, in that fabulous Hudson Hornet paint scheme, unfortunately, it looks like Kevin has really had this thing through the war, and it even sounds like there's been, maybe it's this side. And of course, now I can't look at that side of the car. There it is. Kevin has definitely had this car through the war. But that fabulous Hudson Hornet number 93 Toyota Camry making its way through the tri-oval yet again with 7 laps to go now in the race, as the Hot Wheels machine is keeping it hot here up atop the pile. I feel remiss in that I didn't see Yoda on the front of the Pepsi Mobile here, driven by Joshua Backer. I had missed that completely, so obviously this particular throwback paint scheme was when Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, had come out, back when Jeff Gordon was still driving the number 24. Loszewski, Backer, and Edwards still here atop the pile, getting ready to round out the race here with 3 to go. As Andrew Loszewski coming through the 3-4 complex one more time, getting ready for that 2 to go ready here as he crosses the start-finish line. Andrew Loszewski now running back around the field here to get that all-important white flag up in the air, as it looks like Ian Donat, Kevin Kitzman, Robert Devers, Billy Keffer, and Herbert Pineda all still out on the track, laps down. But, that also left John Osborne, Michael Cunningham, Natalie Cunningham, William Britton, and Robert Hissong back on the haulers. But here we are with Andrew Loszewski taking the white flag. We are now in the final lap in the Way She Goes Racing League, round 15 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Loszewski comes through turn 4 one last time. Now that checkered flag is in the air, and the flag handler waves it. And Andrew Loszewski, your Charlotte winner in the Way She Goes Racing League. Joshua Backer finishes P2, Tony Edwards in P3. That is your podium this evening in the Way She Goes Racing League. And after these messages, we will talk to those 3 drivers on the podium.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight, is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Well, oh, the racket! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the West Coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series.
And welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Right now we have our race winner, Andrew Loszewski, in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry here with us in the broadcast booth. Andrew Loszewski, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Hey, man, listen, a dominant win tonight at Charlotte. I mean, this setup must have been tailored just to you.
Yeah, it was no surprise that I had a pretty good night. Charlotte's one of my favorite tracks. I definitely enjoy racing here, so that helps. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Wasn't necessarily the most exciting race, but given a 200 lap race here, if any of our races could be this caution free, I'm glad it was this one.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. I know that I was in a race on Sunday night that turned into, a caution fest, and actually the Coke 600 in the NIS series last week turned into a 5-hour festival with cautions. So, you're about 2 hours even, just under 2 hours to run the race. Heck of a run there.
Yeah, thanks. I do want to say I kind of hope that that last caution didn't come out just because it would have been interesting between John and I if his strategy was going to work out. He was going for to split it 50-50 for the last 100 laps there. I was going for third of it. That would have been interesting to see if that would have paid off for either one of us.
Absolutely. So, listen, before we cut you loose tonight, is there anybody that you'd like to tip your cap to?
Yeah, just we'll thank people watching, Lizette, the admins there. Did want to also for anybody else listening, your drivers, not sponsor or anything, but if you check out VRS Virtual Racing School, it's a really great tool, super cheap too. That's where I kind of learned how to drive each track that we drive to, and it's really helped just even for beginners and stuff. If you're just trying to look to get a little bit better or have a little bit more fun being competitive, go check them out.
Yeah, man. Listen, VRS is a great place to go, especially because every week with those setups, they do have the tutorial and the walkthrough from the driver who actually built the setup. So, you know, totally agree with
Yep.
you, and glad to have you here on the podium tonight.
Yeah, thanks. And appreciate you guys coming back out, broadcasting the race. It's always a lot of fun when you guys broadcast the race. It just makes it a little bit more special.
Hey, man, listen, I get it. Last week was special for me. I got to be down there on the track, so we'll cut you loose and move on over here to Tony Edwards.
You're going?
Tony Edwards, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, how you doing? You got me?
Yeah, man. Listen, heck of a run tonight that you had there against Loszewski and Backer, but at the end of the night, here you are sitting P3. How was that setup feeling for you? I mean, no real cautions to speak of. Really, really long green flag runs. I mean, that has to make you happy as a driver.
Yeah, I kind of just sat back. This is not one of my better tracks, so to be in third is kind of like a win to me. So, yeah, he was in a zip code by himself. I just kind of followed everybody.
Yeah, brother. Listen, I totally get it. I mean, when you're in that kind of a mode, you're kind of holding out, hoping, maybe for that late caution to come eventually. And unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't come, which would have gotten you back just a little bit more, toward the front. But, here at the end of the night, you're still trying to claw your way back up those piles there as you're sitting in P3. And Robert Hissong, of course, finishing absolute dead last tonight. So definitely going to be closing that gap between yourself and him in the season standings with points.
Yeah, definitely hate it for Robert. He's a good driver. Bad that he had a bad night, but it's good for me.
Absolutely. And listen, before we cut you loose out of here, is there anybody you'd like to tip your cap to?
Just the league, you guys for doing the broadcasting, and everybody watching at home.
All right, brother. Listen, I don't see Joshua Backer in Discord. So, if you do cross paths with him, let him know that I was hoping to get an interview with him here after the race.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You guys have a good night.
All right, brother. Good night.
See ya.
Well, folks, here we are with another one in the books in the Way She Goes Racing League. And I'll tell you what, once again, we had a great dominant race by one of these awesome drivers in this league. I mean, here's the thing. You start to see these drivers week in and week out really duking it out. And we're going to see some interesting changes now with Robert Hissong finishing last tonight. But here's the way that here's the way she went tonight with the way she goes. Andrew Loszewski sits atop the pile in the number 11 Hot Wheels Toyota Camry, followed by Joshua Backer, Tony Edwards, Herbert Pineda, and Billy Keffer rounding out your top 5. Of course, Loszewski, Backer, and Edwards on the podium. Robert Devers finishes 6th. Kevin Kitzman in 7th. Ian Donat in 8th. John Osborne in 9th. Michael Cunningham rounds out the top 10 with Natalie Cunningham, William Britton, and Robert Hissong rounding out the field. So not a lot really to go over there as far as, cars to get through, as there were only 13 out on track tonight when the green flag stopped. So a totally great night, as far as safety and things like that. But of course, when there's only 13 cars, you're not really bouncing against too many folks. So glad to have everyone with us tonight in the youtube.com live chat. And for everybody here at ESBN, youtube.com, and Sim Racing Media, I'm Dave Regal saying tomorrow, make sure that you find that one moment